let's get a response from the mayor for the city of Cape Town. And the mayor joins us now, and that is Geordin Hill-Lewis. Good evening to you, Mayor, and thank you very much for your time. I'm sure that you heard what the minister had to say there. And what she said before is essentially there's overreaching, extending the legislation and so on, effectively saying that you've been acting outside of the law. Now, for the public, when there's a defense of, the stance that you've taken on legal legs, and then you have what the minister is saying, it can leave us feeling quite confused. So has the minister muddied the waters, and what do you understand gives you the authority to do what you've done in terms of the impounding of those taxis?
Just before I answer, I've got a bad echo on my side. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly. I hope it's not too uncomfortable for you.
No, that's fine. I can handle as long as it's not your side as well.
Well, thank you.
What I'd like to say is that it was quite staggering. This is the first time I've seen this clip, so thank you for showing it. To hear the Minister of Transport in South Africa, the person with primary responsibility for road user safety, arguing for a less severe treatment of drunk driving. That's what she just did in that clip. That is nothing short of staggering from a Minister of Transport. In fact, if she was familiar with Section 87 of her own act, which is the National Land Transportation Act, and I want to read you the excerpt, please, from the act, if I may, for a second, which says at Section 87 that vehicles, public transport vehicles, this is minibus taxis, may be impounded if they are operating or behaving or guilty of conduct that is contrary to their operating permit. Now, the conditions of their operating permit is that you can't drive drunk. That's a condition of your operating permit. So if you are a public transport driver and you are responsible for commuting 16 passengers in your minibus taxi, if you are obeying the capacity limits, sometimes those 16 passengers are 16 children if you have a scholar transport license and permit, and you are doing that drunk, the minister would say that we cannot impound for that.
Right.
Well, I really quite look forward to having that argument with her publicly.
And
we are in favor of much harsher treatment for drunk driving.
Perhaps we should facilitate that, Mayor Hill-Lewis, because she's used the exact piece of legislation. In fact, she also quoted Section 27 of the National Land Transport Act to set out the conditions. So I think it would be in the public interest to have the pair of you in a room kind of, duking it out over that particular piece of legislation. So however, here we are. And just a quick update on the impounding. Last time we checked, or the number that's being circulated is around 6,000 vehicles. What's that number at now?
No, it's still at exactly the same, because we haven't obviously been impounding the last few days because they're not on the road. But actually, interestingly, and this is a really important point, I've just done a press conference just an hour ago with Police Minister Becky Cele, right here outside my office. And the Police Minister reported on how the SABC, in fact, impounded 53 taxis in Cape Town yesterday. Not us. The SABC impounded 53 taxis yesterday, according to his own statement. And what act did they impound those taxis under? This is the irony of ironies, the National Land Transport Act, the same act which the minister now says we should not be using to impound.
Right.
So really, it's farcical.
Mayor, we've interviewed several people, not only on our program, but across the SABC platform. And the industry in different places, the taxi industry, expressed that it's being targeted. We spoke to some community leaders yesterday who said, there seem to be undertones of racism in the way that this enforcement is happening, a desire to, ensure that, a desire to unfairly target the taxi industry in Cape Town. And I'd like to hear your response to that.
I'm trying to respond to what I've heard. Apologies if I've misheard. There is a bad echo. If we were racist, then we would not care about the passengers of taxis who are overwhelmingly black commuters in our city. The fact is that we care deeply about their safety. When they get into accidents because taxis have jumped red robots and been smashed in the intersection, when they killed pedestrians who are walking on the side of the road because they drive on the shoulder or they drive right up onto the pedestrian walkway, These are things that we care deeply about. That is why we are taking this firm action, to protect those people, to protect the passengers of those minibus taxis and all other road users. So, I'm not surprised to hear that argument. This is South Africa, and almost every argument is reduced to that. But I don't think that it stands up to the facts.
Let's talk then, Mayor, about something that is also concerning. In fact, let me just quickly ask this follow-up question on that. Is the City of Cape Town's approach, just to that point of the industry expressing on various platforms that they feel like they're being targeted, is there a general zero-tolerance approach to unroadworthy vehicles? And we know there are two separate pieces of legislation that govern taxis and private vehicles and so on. Is there that uniform clampdown across the City of Cape Town and indeed in the Western Cape, at large, of getting unroadworthy vehicles off the road and prosecuting traffic offences?
The simple answer is absolutely yes. In fact, we are quite transparent about the numbers. Every single Monday morning, we release the numbers to the press of impoundments that have taken place in the previous week. And you will see, if you go and look at those statements over the last months, they're all available online. You will see that roughly 50% of the impoundments we do are taxis and 50% are private vehicles. So we are not that we plan it this way, because obviously every officer is out there doing his or her own job. But in fact, we are incredibly even-handed in prosecuting or impounding private vehicles and taxi vehicles.
May I know that you must run off. So final question is, the impounded taxis will be subject to, from what we understand, storage fees, and there's impounding fees, which I presume would be, calculated exponentially over the last couple of days. What's your sense of what that bill could run into, and are you concerned that it creates another layer of potential future tension between yourselves and the taxi industry, or is there the likelihood of, giving some kind of amnesty?
No, there's no storage fee. There's just the normal impoundment fee, which is quite steep. It's deliberately steep. One of the allegations by the taxi industry is that our impoundment fee is much higher than other provinces. We've in fact gone and found all of the impoundment fees from other provinces, and our impoundment fees are almost the same as other provinces. So again, it's strange that these issues are raised only here. But so what we are saying is, those people have to pay the impoundment fee to get the release of their vehicle. And that is how we force the behavior change. That's the point of the impoundment, is it forces you to change your behavior and obey the rules of the road. If we just release it without that fee, then there's no point in doing the enforcement in the first place. It is all about forcing that behavior change so that commuters, passengers, pedestrians, children who use scholar transport, so that they are safer.
May I just quickly throw the number to me? What's the daily rate?
No, there's no daily rate. There's a single impoundment fee. It's about 7,000 Rand for your first offence. And then if it's your second offence and you get impounded again, it goes up. If it's your third offence and you get impounded again, it goes up even further. Mm-hmm.
And some of the operators, I imagine, operate multiple vehicles, which might be currently impounded. So there's a stiff bill, certainly, that they are going to be facing as well. I'm sure that our conversation is not going to end. Thank you for talking to us tonight. We appreciate you making the time. City of Cape Town Mayor Geordin Hill-Lewis.